Hi everybody, it's Belinda from Belinda's Book Nook, and I'm here to do another Friday Reads. I mean, let's just take a moment to say I've been doing pretty good at making it behind or making it here in front of the camera so that you guys can see me each Friday. Today almost didn't happen because I had my annual physical that I've been kind of putting off since the pandemic. And so finally I was going to go today, and I was so anxious, triple masked, just a little nervous to enter a medical facility at this time. So I had that, and I had some other things to do, and I was like, I'm not going to get a chance to do my video, and I've been doing so good. It's kind of good once you get going, because I guilt myself and say, okay, you know what? You did it last week, and if you don't want to miss it. So I've been doing pretty good, I have to say, with the Friday Reads, and I'm here with a bunch of stuff to talk to you about. I don't know if you watched my last video. The last video I talked about what I want to read next month. At the end of this, I'm going to show you a book haul, just 2 books that came in that were pre-orders, and how they just dying to sneak on to this month's TBR, because I already started the books for this month now. And so I'm like, oh, but they can wait. They can wait. All right, so let's get started. So the first one, I before I even started filming, I always take the jackets off the books, but when I read them, I put them on usually when especially in the beginning when I'm talking about the books with you guys, so that you can see the covers in case you're not watching every one of my videos. And you don't know what I'm talking about. And the cover, sometimes it just sparks it for people more so than hearing me say the title. So I looked around for about 5 minutes and I couldn't find the cover for this one, but I wanted to show you. Look anyways, because this is the first one I started this month, because I'm all finished with my books for last month, and I am going to still do a video for the wrap up of those books. This one, I couldn't find the cover, and it is a gorgeous cover, and I don't know where I put it. I usually put them in this one location, but I've been doing a lot of spring cleaning, so it might have gotten shifted into another. Obviously, it got shifted somewhere else. But this one is The Map of Salt and Stars by Jennifer Zainab Joukadar. I don't know if I pronounced it right. I started this one the day before, so not the first, the third, the end of last month, right? Yeah. So I'm liking it a lot. I like the way they're telling the story. Every other chapter kind of follows. So there's the story of the main character and her family, and they're in the United States initially. But then due to the death of her father, they move back home, or back to Syria. And it's not for the main character. She's too young to have had any impressions or to know anything. So she's really basically an American living there. So she's trying to learn more about the culture there while she's there too. And her siblings are older, so they know. But you follow her story, and then the story of this fable, or I don't know if it's called a fable, but I'll just save that for the lack of a better word, that has been handed down in generations, about this girl that she ends up, I believe, disguising herself as a boy, and goes around the world with this gentleman. She's becomes a map maker. And the story of the main character of the book here begins to find parallels to this myth. So it's hard for me to describe it, and I hope I get better, because I'd love to be able to review the book at the end for you guys. But I really love how it's being read. And in one part in the book, and this is not a spoiler, she was talking about collecting rocks. And I used to collect, well, I still do, but I used to collect as a kid a lot of rocks everywhere when I go to the beach, or if we would go for a walk, whatever, and I used to keep them. And so she does that in one aspect in the book, and it just started making me think. So I picked up this one I had gotten a couple of years ago on vacation on the beach, and while I'm reading it, I've been like kind of rolling it in my hand. I know this is hokey. It's Friday. I can talk about anything. It's free for all, everybody. But it was really relaxing. So I found the audiobook version of this, and I let it read it to me. And while I was reading along with it, I was like kind of rolling this in my hand, and it was so relaxing. So this is my book rock, and it kind of matches to the cover. So when I read this, I'm going to have the rock with me. And there's also like, you know, symbolism, you know, with regards to the rock, I believe, and the story and the girl and, you know, home and all of the things that go into making a person and stuff like that. So there's that one. I am very much liking this. I think it's going to be, if it continues in this path, it's going to be a really good reading experience. Now, I picked 4 books for next month. I only usually do like 2 at a time because I can't do all 4. That's just, I'm crazy, but not that crazy. So we have that one. And I was trying to put a classic into my reading for this month. And side note, my sister just mailed this to me. Isn't it pretty? It's so pretty. It's so pretty. And the inside of it is like orangish color that's in her wrap. It's just really nice. And it's a good size. I love tea, and I love teacups. Mm-hmm. And the sides of it, when you sip it, is just great. Okay, so the second book that I picked was, oh my God, don't fall, was Cain by Jean Toomer. And I knew nothing about this. I knew nothing about Jean Toomer. I did have heard of it, but I know nothing about what the story was about, or the book was about. So, true confession here, I started it. And I got to about, or that one, I got to about page 17 or 18. And I'm having difficulty with it. I'm not very good with poetry. So I'm reading and feeling lost, and reading another one, and then reading another poem, and it not feeling like the connection between the poems, the message of the poems. Like at first, like some of them I feel like I got a grasp. By the time at the end of the poem, I'm like, I don't understand it. I know that this is supposed to have also, what do you call it? A play. There's supposed to be a play in here and some other stuff. So my question to you, what would you do if you're having that? So I was getting frustrated. I would read another and another, and granted, so for me to get to that page, that's only this much of the book, right? Should I stick with it and just keep going until I get to maybe one of these stories? What would you do? Would you DNF it or set it aside for later? Or would you push through and see if you can find that connection that's going to, you know, and it's embarrassing because I'm sure there's other people that are very well versed in poetry and things like that and can understand. And they may think that I'm crazy for not. But I'm just being honest. I'm always going to be honest with you guys. And I don't, you know, you can judge me. But I just didn't understand it. And so I was getting frustrated. So I keep ending up putting it down and going back to the Salts one. And I want to read 2. So this is the time of the month I need to make a decision. Either I keep it or push it to another time, ditch it forever, I don't know, and add a different book or another classic that I can connect a little bit better with. I'm really sad because I know this is probably amazing, right? And I probably could look up and find out maybe somebody's read it and talks about it in such a way that it would connect with me. But when I'm reading them, I'm feeling lost. So there's that. There's that. I know, it kind of stinks. I never want that to happen with the book, you know? Keep going, Belinda. Stop your yammering. So then this one with the beautiful cover, The Red Island House by Andrea Lee, I have not got to yet. I am going to do it to that one. And my other one I told you guys about was the purple hibiscus. So I could bump up one of these and go with that and the salt and the stars, or I could pick up another classic. I have a couple that I still own, or another book altogether, and put in with this. But just give me your opinion. I mean, I may still just try. I may try again this weekend and see if I can peek and try to see if I can get further along and see if that will help me with the book. But because I'm such a slow reader, I don't want to keep on with this too long, because if it's not happening and there's no connection, there's no sense in forcing it, right? So, okay. So these are the other two that I have that are going to be hopefully coming up for the rest of this month as well. Now, let's make sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's okay. So that's it that I have for this month. And I do have a mystery book that I have started on my Kindle that I'm very much enjoying. It might not be the right word. I'm learning a lot from. It's a nonfiction and really good. So I'm hoping I can finish that so I can talk to you guys about that at the end of the month as well. Now, on to the pre-orders that finally came in. I'll do this one first because this one I pre-ordered way back. And I almost forgot that I had it on pre-order till I saw somebody talk about it recently. And then I was like, oh yeah, I pre-ordered that. And then it came like the next day. So this one is called Liberty, and it's by Caitlin Greenidge. And she's also author of the book We Love You, Charlie Freeman, which I didn't read that, so I don't know much about that. This is a picture of her in the back, so you can see the picture. She's very lovely. And this one is a historical, I believe it's like a YA kind of historical fiction. And if I remember correctly, this one, okay, I'll read. Coming of age as a freeborn Black girl in Reconstruction era Brooklyn, Liberty Sampson is all too aware that her purposeful mother, a practicing physician, has a vision for the future together. Liberty is to go to medical school and practice alongside her, but Liberty is drawn more to music than science, feels stifled by her mother's choices, and is hungry for something else. Is there really only one way to have an autonomous life? And she's constantly reminded that unlike her mother, who can pass, Liberty has skin that is too dark. When a young man from Haiti proposes to Liberty and promises she will be his equal on the island, she accepts only to discover that she is still subordinate to him and all men. As she tries to parse what freedom actually means for a Black woman, Liberty struggles with where she might find it for herself and for generations to come. Inspired by the life of one of the first Black female doctors in the United States, and rich with historical detail, Caitlin Greenidge's new and immersive novel will resonate with readers eager to understand our present through a deep, moving, and lyrical dive into our complicated past. That sounds so good, right? I think it sounded really good. I remember when I read it, I want to say this was right around Christmassy time, and I read the synopsis. I was like, I gotta get it. And then I saw the pretty cover too. I was like, oh, sold. So that just came. This will be happening next month. But boy, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to touch it right now. This next one I heard about, I think it was through a bookstore site, and they were going to have the author talk, I think, or something. And I was like, I want to get the book before the person comes. And then I think I think that's how it was. So then I went and looked up the book and I ordered it. And interestingly, it is a debut novel, but it came out and it's in paperback. And I always wondered that. And I think we talked about that one time before, is why some come out as hardcover and why some come out as paperback. Usually they roll with the hardcover first after they've got as much money as they can in that hardcover. Then they'll release a year later usually, or depending upon, I guess, the sales, they'll release a soft cover of the book. But this is coming out in paperback first. So I was excited because I really like to get the paperbacks. I feel like I fit more on my bookshelf. It's all about fitting it, and it's also not too heavy. This one is called Wild Women in the Blues by Denny S. Bryce. And this is a debut novel. And look at the cover, it's gorgeous. Isn't that beautiful? It's so, so pretty. This one, I think I had found a little quick description, so I have to read to you both books. This one is, it says, Ordinary People Meets Chicago, the musical. As played out in the city's Black Belt, Wild Women in the Blues is a mainstream historical fiction novel that weaves the stories of a grieving film student in 2015 and an ambitious chorus girl in 2025 in the tale of history, love, and secrets that only family can define. I think it's going to be, you know, the film student, I believe she's tending to her ill or her sick, I think it's her grandfather. And I think that the stories will go parallel. So it will probably be almost like The Salt and the Stars, in that it will, one chapter will be about this film student who her name is Sawyer Hayes. And then the other one will be about Henri Delcourt, who is the dancer, I believe. So I think it will be really interesting. I love historical fictions. I think this will be really, really interesting. The era in 1925, you know, will be something that's, you know, very interesting to me. And I love to see, you know, a lot of times when you see things in the past, it's excluding people of color, so we don't really get to see, other than other than slave narratives and issues with slavery, we don't really get to these other types of stories. And I like that this sounds like it is going to have a story from that time period. So it'll be really interesting to read that one. So I'm excited about this one. So this will happen next month. So you got to peek already at what I'm going to read next month, because I'm going to really exercise my patience and not read these two. So those are the two that will happen next month. What else is happening? I went to my doctor's appointment. I'm ready for the weekend. Oh, I got this. Isn't this cute? Isn't it cute? Really cheap at Target. I just like the little message. Well, let's see. There's nothing else to tell you guys. I can't even fake it. No, there's nothing else to say except that I am really excited about the reads for this month, and I had a good reading month last month. I really enjoyed the stuff that I read last month. I'm really just torn with regards to Kane about what I should do. I want it to be a good experience. I want to be able to say I read it. I want to get that experience, but I feel like I'm just reading the words and I can't understand them. And so I feel like I'm not doing even the author the service by reading it, because anybody can read the words, but I want to get the meaning behind in the message. So maybe I'll continue to plug in a little longer and see if, when we get to some of the plays and things like that, if that more resonates with me more than the poetry. I really have to find poetry that I can connect to, and I'm always envious of people that do read poetry. And poetry, I know, it's a vast. There's not just one type of poetry. I know that there's all sorts of things, and I know there's some out there. There's some that I have read and enjoyed, but I usually shy away from books that are exclusively poetry, just for the reason that I hate that feeling of not understanding it. Reading the word, knowing what the word means, but not knowing what they're saying in that collection and that presentation of something. That it makes me a little frustrated. And I admitted it to you guys on camera, and I'm not embarrassed. I'm sure there's somebody else that might have experienced it too. And if you have tips on how I can learn and understand it better, I welcome that. Have a great weekend. Wash your hands, wear your mask, read your books. Let me know what you're reading. What's your plans for this month? Are you excited about reading this month? Do you have any challenges you're doing? Like I told you, I'm challenge free. Just reading. That's all I'm doing this month. And let me know what's going on. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.